Hi, welcome to our YouTube channel. I'm Dara.
I'm Donna, and we're going to get to play a hand with you today.
Perfect. So without further ado, if you missed the first video that we shared about RealCanasta, this was the hand that we were dealt, which is very pretty. And if you haven't played on RealCanasta yet, you could watch that video that just goes over basic introduction on what the different aspects of the game are. So,
and we have also picked our first card. We don't have threes, and we have drawn our first card from the stock.
So very important. So one of the tips that we share in our book is, I mean, I know we're only on a required point count of 125, but and here I give away my secrets, but I love looking for special hands. So when I see both pairs of jokers, both pairs of twos, an ace and a seven, I'm already thinking of one of the pairs hands because, you know, those are required for that. And if you forget what the special hands that are recognized in RealCanasta, you could just click on the little gear and then scroll down and see. So typically, since we have a lot of points but no pure, I would typically throw a lower card. But in this case, that's one of our pairs. So what would you discard in this?
Right, and remember, particularly, we need sevens. When you have aces and wild cards, you need sevens, nor could you throw a seven on an empty tray, as we call it, and it would be false signaling our partner. So for all those reasons, that card we don't throw. I would throw the 8, 9, jack or queen, any one of those.
Yeah. So the settings we have on this game are medium speed, just to give everybody time to see what the bots are doing. And we are on a mel base of 5. So RealCanasta allows you to pick a mel base of 2, 3, or 5. Oh, they're ready.
They're opening. And also, if you're not familiar with mel bases, the most commonly, according to our surveys that we did for the book, the most common meld base, meaning how many pure cards you need on a meld after opening to add wilds. And 5 is hard, but that is the most frequently played. So
and one thing that some new players get a little confused with is at any time, no matter what mel base you're on, once like computer 3 and computer 1, now that they opened, if they have 3 jacks, they can put them down. It doesn't govern new melds that aren't using wild cards. It only governs where you could add a wild card. So since the mel base is 5, if they opened and they had 2 jacks and a wild, they could not put that down. In order to add a wild to their 8s, they would need to add 2 more 8s. So, and for those of you who are more experienced, you could just tune that part of this out. You already know that. So we can't pick the pack, nor would we really want to, because.
Well, we could, one thing, partner, we could open with 4 wilds. It's not ideal to do. We have the point count there. There's not a lot to take in that discard.
Right. So yeah, no, I stand corrected. We can pick the pack. It's not, I personally, unless I know that for some reason that there's a lot of jokers to be had, I rarely open with 4 jokers. Maybe if the other team's about to close out the game, but to me, 4 is just a little
4
too
wilds. Yes.
Yeah,
okay.
4 wilds.
See.
Okay, so here they already have 8s and aces.
Right.
We would need our aces. I think the 8's the way to go.
The 8's the way to go.
They could probably pick it, but
only 5 cards there. Doesn't matter.
So it's interesting that the computer put down a 5th ace because it's known as 5th position. So now both computer 1 and computer 3 cannot pick the pack with aces because they had 5 cards there. They might not need that, and they might just want to be closing out the canasta, so we can't open with aces, which is also a different strategy. So it just shows how many nuanced decisions there are in the game.
Right, and I want to note, they've got 5 aces there, and our partner just threw an ace, probably because they thought it was a safe card to throw, that they couldn't pick the discard pile. For us to go for a special hand, it's diminishing that. We don't have that great of a chance of picking in an ace unless we really get lucky.
Right.
So that's
now we have a pair. So 1, 2. I don't know if on Zoom it's gonna film my arrow. So we have one pair of jokers, a pair of twos, a pair of fours, jacks, queens, and kings. So if we were going for a different special, we have 6, not including the ace and 7. Right, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. So what would you throw here?
I think I would think about not going for a special.
Yeah.
Because of the aces, and probably throw the ace and hoping we pick a pure.
Either pure or a zip code. I mean, and
Yeah,
one thing that's interesting, a lot of times you see the zip code is on a lot of different places, 2000 or 2500. And when we polled everyone and talked to a lot of players, we actually, there they go. We actually realized how often it's played. And a lot of times, I mean, I call it set. I guess I take that from mahjong, but I'm set for a zip code special hand with any of like 3 different cards because it's one of the easiest ones. So in our book, we actually have the value of it at 1500. So here we pick the card. So 6.
A 6, definitely, yes. And they picked it, and I'm guessing our partner doesn't have the wild cards to open, doesn't have the point count, and we're struggling to get a pure.
Right.
And they're picking queens. And often the first team to open and pick a juicy pack, as we call it, controls the game, and you're seeing that now. And it's the luck of the draw.
So what's interesting here is I'm not ready to go for a joker, but one thing that we can tell, and there's, you know, kind of a competing forces here. On one hand, it's a partner game, and you wait to add wilds to see if you can close a pure meld. So they're queens, they have 5. They might be sitting on wilds, but not adding them to see if they could have a pure meld, pure canasta. On the other hand, you know, we don't want to risk. So I'm going to pick a card.
Oh boy, not a help.
No, they probably pick it again.
There's only 2 cards there. You got to play your hand also.
Yep.
The good news is they don't have jacks or kings or 4s.
Right.
And we have a chance of maybe making a.
And there's still 34 cards. It's just now that I see computer one's hand dwindling, as soon as they get a second, they might be ready to close this out.
Correct.
So. Yeah. Oh, well, we know 5's safe.
Yeah. I'm counting how many wild cards they've had. They had 2 in the aces, and I think 1 in those 6s.
You
That's
can't
3.
not open up a closed canasta to see. So you try and remember that.
So I think they've got 3,
right?
And we've got 4 is 7. So I mean,
The one thing you can do is you can see the last 3 cards. Wow, we really can't.
Just not. Yeah, this is a game of luck too, in what you're drawing.
Come on, partner. Up.
Oh, partner's opening.
Hopefully they'll have kings or 4s. Oh, all right, at least kings. So 26 cards left, but they only have 2 cards. So since we can close the kings when it gets to our turn, would you do that?
Yes, and let's see if they throw us a jack. Well, is there a lot of bad stuff in there? There's 2 aces in the pack.
So it's funny,
jack,
normally I would be better at counting, but since we're discussing our hand, I haven't been doing that very well.
And Dara, demonstrate how we can look at the last 3 cards. I'd like to see what else is in there.
Oh, wow.
I say we pick it because we can get 2 canastas with
There's
jacks.
only 11 cards, so.
Right, and I don't think there's a lot of bad stuff in there.
We did
so,
good. So we actually are
that's
going to get a pure here. All right, so that's very nice. And then we could do the kings. And then so here, and this might just be second nature. You get points taken off your score for the cards remaining in hand at the end. And you are given points once you have at least 1 canasta for the cards in canastas and on the table. So if you have the choice, I would always pick the joker over the 2 to close out a canasta.
Right, and you're getting extra, they're not minused in your hand, and you're getting an extra 100 points by using them. So
here I would do the 8. We can't do the ace, even though that's a nice high card to get rid of because it's closed. So
yeah, the 8.
And just in our book, we have different rhyming things. So an empty tray is not the place for wild card, dead card, 7, or ace. So now our partner threw 1 7. I mean, they could have 2, but at this point, I don't think we would pick the pack
Oh,
anymore.
well, here's the 9s.
So this is
Good.
nice. to
2,
close
4.
out. So
Yeah.
hey, this round turned around. Look at that. We're above them. And boy, this looked like a really sad round for us in the beginning. So the queen is actually, or actually now it's not
The
a,
ace.
yeah,
You're
the
gonna
ace,
throw an ace. Yeah.
not an empty tray.
We really salvaged ourselves
Wow,
nicely.
that was a nice turnaround.
Correct. And they're saying yes. So they're gonna go out.
So now what's interesting is on Real Canasta at the end, they show you what's in everyone's hand. So you see our partner had the 2 7s, there's 1 7. So there's plenty. And if you look at this little eye, you could go back and see how many cards left. So there were still 13 cards left in the pack, in the stock.
The stock. And you know what? For not having the event, they closed an ace canasta, so that's a lot of high points. For us,
And look at all, they had 4 3s and well, we had 3, so.
right? So we're only 300 points different in difference, and for the way this round shook out, I
Yeah, no,
think
it's
we
salvaged.
really did very well.
Yeah. So now, this is an interesting beginning as well. 2, 3, 4, 5. So if we had a 2 and a pair of aces, we would have a special. That's just the way I look at it in the beginning of what
Right,
do I
because we're open with a lot of pairs.
So the first thing I always do is I look at the score and our required meld base. And if you're playing in an in-person game, the scorekeeper should always announce both teams' score for the beginning of the round and their required meld base for the round, just to announce it to everybody, because that's a really important part of knowing, because you could mismeld and then have points added to your opening. So what would you throw here?
I would throw most likely the 4.
Yeah. And when I'm at a higher required point count and I can keep, if I have a lot of points and I'm just waiting for a pure, I like to keep a pair of low cards because a lot of times that's a great way to pick the pack. But here right now, we're just trying to open. So here I would either throw the jack or the king.
Right. What did our partner throw? Sometimes I like to look and see what's in there. Well, they threw 4s. That doesn't help. Yeah. Yeah.
King. And people sometimes get a little bit not misled, but aces, not aces, 8s through king are all 10 points. So sometimes people feel like the face cards are more valuable, but they're all the same. Oh, so now we have our pure. And we have 1 wild and 1 pair. So we're still far from.
We're still far, those jokers really help.
Yeah.
They're 50 points
So
and
you
aces
think
help.
the 8 or the
An 8,
jack.
I think we threw an 8 before. Yeah.
So just so you know, if you are counting your points, because it's very helpful here on Real Canasta, if you get a special, you have to X that out in order to have the option. A little box over in the corner will say special hand. So make sure you X that out in order to see that. And the other thing is, just because it says special hand when it's your turn does not mean you have a special. It
Correct.
just gives you that option.
And they've opened.
Yeah.
Our opponents.
Oh boy.
I guess
So they have jacks. There's a lot of 8s in the pack. I usually dislike throwing the same card that I was just thrown, because I feel like if the person to my right doesn't have it and I don't have it, then maybe the person I'm throwing to does. But I know there's a lot of 8s in the pack already.
the chances are the 8's a safe card. Nothing is 100% safe, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Now, interesting, they're putting down cards. It's not the way we recommend playing both in our book and live. You want to hold cards in your hand so you can pick the discard pile. It seems like the bots are programmed not to do that.
It depends. It's very dependent. I see sometimes they do, I think it just depends on what there must be a, obviously program, but when they
So
know.
now, yeah. So now, are we still thinking of a special hand here?
I mean, if we pick a 2, we're in good position. What's interesting is the 9s at this point. One thing to look at is we cannot close the 9s because there are already 4 9s on the table melded by our competitors. So the 9s could help us open, but they wouldn't be something that we would be able to close. So at this point, I think we throw the jack.
I agree.
So good. So that was safe so far. So we've 1, 2, 3, 4.
Good at 10.
And just, I mean, you can never, like right now, if you could throw a 2, we'd be in a great position for a special. You could never discard a wild card unless your entire hand consists of wild cards, even including the card you pick. So. All right, so now we have 3 10s, nothing's closed. You always check to make sure it's not closed, that you can't use it in a meld. I don't know why that just switched. So we're only at 120. So
We still have the chance for a special hand.
So would you throw the 5?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would throw the 5 and hopefully
So people understand that are watching, you only need the most 5 different melds for a special. So it's always recommended to keep a pair, up to a pair of 7s, no more than 2, and up to a pair of aces, no more than 2 in hand. So the other team can't get a pure canasta of those. So it would be a little riskier to throw the 7. So instead we'll throw the 5. Because we would have to pick the 2 for a special. So that was a smart discard by our partner because they couldn't pick the 6s. No, I shouldn't have that. So let's see. So we threw the 5 before and it was safe. So I think we go with that again.
Throw the 5.
So our partner could be signaling that they have 2 7s, or they could be going for a special. So
But usually the bots are programmed not to throw 7s unless they've got the right amount. Well, there we are.
So now that we threw the 5, we can't, we don't have enough points. So now we could throw the 4.
The 4,
But
hopefully.
now we're actually set. Do you use the
Set
term
for a
set
2.
for canasta?
I wouldn't say why not.
Yeah. So now if we get it up. So the interesting thing is we still have a chance to get a special because there's something known as a courtesy special. So if on our turn we pick a 2, the only time we could do a special after our partner opened is if we get the 2 right on this turn. Other than that, the special's off the table, literally. So we're definitely not picking the 7s. So.
We got it.
What a great way to demonstrate that.
Yeah.
So we could click on special and there you go.
So this is the zip code special 43322.
So I'm not sure how long we've been recording this. Do you think we stop here? I mean, the game of canasta could be ups and downs. I mean, there's days where our in-person game could be 3 hours and you're just playing 1 round, or it could be 3 hours and you get 2 games done. I mean, not 1 round, 1 game. So this is a good stopping point and a fun way to end it. So we invite you to join us on Facebook. We really aim to be your canasta hotline. So if you have any questions, you could post on Facebook or you could email us at modernamericancanasta@gmail.com. Have a good one.